All right, let's jump right in. We often think that every great company starts with some super detailed, meticulous plan, but that's not always the case. Take CKonnect, for instance. Their story is, well, it's pretty much an accident. It all kicked off not with a grand strategy, but with just one single spontaneous upload.
I love this quote because it perfectly sets the scene, right? We're so used to those classic Silicon Valley stories, the big vision, the VC pitches, the whole shebang. But this is something else entirely. It's a great reminder that sometimes the best ideas don't come from a boardroom. They can come from, well, anywhere.
And look at this comparison. The difference is just, wow. On one side, you've got the typical startup playbook, right? Business plans, market research, all that stuff. And on the other side, this story. A random upload, absolutely zero marketing, and a project that was, and I mean this literally, forgotten. It's like the anti-startup.
Okay, so let's rewind and start at that very beginning, the unplanned one. We've got the co-founder, Ashwari, who basically just launched this course on a whim. No big announcement, no fanfare, nothing. And get this, it wasn't even under a company name, no brand, no fancy logo. He just uploaded it under his own name. It was just an idea he had, and he just went for it. And this is really important to understand. This was not step one of some grand master plan. There was no vision board for an e-learning empire here. It was just a one-off thing, a creative spark, not a calculated business move.
Now here's the part that would probably give any marketer an actual heart attack. There was absolutely no marketing plan. I'm talking zero. No social media posts, no ad campaigns, nothing. He built it, he uploaded it to Udemy, and then he just completely forgot about it. Just gone from his mind.
And that, of course, brings us to the next chapter of this wild story. Because, let's be real, when you forget a project even exists, the last thing you expect is for it to start, well, talking back. Especially with money. But that is exactly what happened.
So for the first month or two, nothing. Just crickets. The course was just sitting there, lost in the huge digital library of Udemy. But then, around month 3, something weird happened. Something totally out of the blue.
He gets a payment notification, out of nowhere. This course, the one he forgot about, the one with zero marketing, the no-frills project, it had started making money, all by itself. It was the very first sign that something was brewing, and you can bet it was a massive surprise.
But here's where it gets even crazier. Where was this money coming from? It wasn't local. The students were from the US, from Europe, Latin America, literally all over the globe. This quiet little course was somehow reaching a massive international audience. It just goes to show you, right? Sometimes the market that finds you is not the one you ever expected.
So the surprise success was great, money coming in. But it did more than that. It actually uncovered this really deep, puzzling mystery, one that they absolutely had to solve.
Because think about it. Having a global audience is awesome, but it also made them realize something was off. There was a huge disconnect. See, they had actually made the content for a very specific audience, and that audience was completely absent. Something just wasn't adding up.
Which led them to the question. The one that would change the entire trajectory of this thing. Where are the Indian students? Why was a course made in India, for students in India, being picked up almost entirely by people in the West? This question became their new obsession.
So they started playing detective, trying to figure out the why. Could it be the platform? Maybe Udemy just wasn't seen as credible in India. Or was it simpler? Maybe people just didn't know about it. Or was it something deeper, like an issue of trust? They had no idea. But the most important part was that they were asking the right question. And that's so often where a real mission is born, isn't it? Not with a solution, but with a really, really good question.
And that one question was the spark. It's what took this thing from a simple online course and transformed it into a genuine, full-blown mission. They found their purpose not in that first surprise paycheck, but in the journey to answer that puzzle.
It totally redefined how they saw themselves. They weren't just teachers or course creators anymore. No, they started seeing themselves as bridges. Structures that connect one side to the other, getting people over obstacles. And that idea, that metaphor, became the absolute core of what CKonnect was going to be about.
And just like that, their mission snapped into focus. It rested on 3 main pillars. First, be a bridge connecting students to actual opportunities. Second, bridge that classic gap between textbook theory and what it's really like to work in the real world. And third, and this is the big one, bridge India to the rest of the world and bring the world back to India.
Which brings us right back to our co-founder, Aishwari.
He's described as a creator of chaos, and I think that's perfect. He's the kind of person who explores and tinkers and tries stuff, not someone who follows a strict plan. And honestly, it was that exact chaotic, curious energy that picked off this whole amazing ride.
So that leaves us with one final thought. This entire story, from a project he literally forgot about to a company with a global mission, it was all an accident. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What amazing mission could be hiding inside one of your spontaneous, unplanned, just for fun ideas?